This is the Deputy Director General of South Pacific Community, Ms. Audrey Moore, Mr. Reddy, Honourable Reddy, Minister of Agriculture from Fiji, and Honourable Matai from Minister of Agriculture from Vanuatu, and Ms. Akandavi from Assistant Deputy Director of FAO based in Bangkok. The key outcomes is number one on the list was the nutrition, food systems for the Pacific community. We spoke about the Koroniva joint work on agriculture in the Pacific. The SPC will elaborate on the Koroniva agreement, and we also adopted developing a strategic and coordinated platform for future Pacific Week of Agricultural events. There are other issues, but those are the main issues that was the meeting concentrated upon for the day.
As you know, this meeting was a joint ministerial meeting convened by the Pacific Community and FAO, and it brings together the members of both FAO and the Pacific Community. And as you'll be aware, there are ministers from agriculture who are represented here, and they come in every 2 years to have a conversation with both the agencies about priorities, about issues that are emerging in that country. And their primary conversation with us is to alert us or to share with us what they think are the priorities for organisations such as ourselves. So for SPC in particular, 2 years ago the ministers met in Vanuatu, and the minister from Vanuatu is here and he can talk a little bit about that meeting. But the ministers were very clear with SPC at the last meeting about the emerging priorities for the region. And so this was a meeting that was very important for us, because we were able to share back our new business plan, the shaping of our new priorities and our new work plan that these countries have been very much important and central to. So issues such as pests and diseases, which are of course an emerging issue for the region, issues around atolls and soils, issues around nutrition and food safety and so forth. And so these are the types of discussions we've had over the past day and sharing with the ministers, and the Honourable Minister from Samoa is being responsible for convening that meeting.
I think from FAO we are very pleased to see a big participation of ministers from the region, which is very good in terms of their seriousness and commitment to issues relating to the broader food systems when we talk about food security and nutrition security. The other area that we touched on quite comprehensively was the climate agenda. And the important aspect of it was the Koroniva, the joint work on agriculture in the Pacific. It emphasizes the impact on agriculture from climate change, which never got that much of understanding at the global level. So it is nice to see the Pacific ministers coming together and emphasizing the importance and doing this joint thing. So these are two big areas this day has covered, and seeing the ministers supporting the Pacific Food and Nutrition Framework, which will be the reference partnership framework as well as the coordination framework that brings the SPC and FAO work together as a foundation, is a good way for us as FAO and working together with the SPC to support the member countries and the ministers here to move the food security, nutrition security agenda and the climate change agenda. So it was a very productive and constructive and very enjoyable week for us. Thank you.
You are actually talking about funding this project. Everything that we've been discussing today as funding impact, but we didn't actually talk about the value of funding. We're just talking about the value of what those projects contribute to the Pacific communities. But the valuation of projects that are undertaken is something that is ongoing, and we can't put a dollar value on how how we implement nutritious food systems, how do we bring in, work with the climate change organizations to, we can't put a value on that, except that in overall that we have, has been discussion that there are funds available for all these type of for all this work in preparation for climate change proposal. So and that has not been a secret. So but what we discuss here is how do we move our systems, agricultural and forestry systems, to provide for the people healthy food, nutritious food, and enough food to start with, without the reliance on imported processed foods.
What were some of the key outcomes achieved that were being brought forward from 2017 to 2019? What were some of the key outcomes that PWA has helped over the past 2 years?
We're talking about the communique for us. The answer to your question is that I don't have the answer just yet, because until I look at the book, because we wanted to see a lot of these items here are ongoing agendas from previous meetings. So you can ask us later so that we can identify exactly the outcomes of that meeting. But right now that some of the, like the Koiniva or Koinivia, an agreement is an ongoing thing. So it's every time we meet, we also evaluate how we should make it, how should we improve it. And the agreement has been reached now that there should be an intersessional meeting, and this is going to take place in Christchurch in 2020. And New Zealand have agreed to host it in 2020. So that's part of the process. It's a progression from the 2017 meeting onto this meeting now, and again going forward to 2021.
I want to begin by thanking the Pacific Ministers of Agriculture and Forestry who are allowing Fiji to host quite humbled and also challenged at the same time, given that how Samoa and Vanuatu is delivered at that level this particular Pacific Week of Agriculture Forestry meeting and also the ministers meeting. We're looking at taking the benchmark to a higher level. We want to make that particular meeting a week-long discourse about creating. We want to showcase Fiji's agriculture where we have taken. If you look at, if you get a chance to read our strategic plan, we have got 5 key elements there. 3 important ones is one, we want to now move into an era of commercial agriculture. Fiji did well 4 decades ago based on farms led by farmers. We now have to, that model is no longer relevant. We now are moving towards commercial agriculture led by entrepreneurs. We want to showcase our commercial agriculture model. That's one of the key strategic area in our strategic plan. We have the other important to the strategic objective is climate smart agriculture, which is captured into the community declaration. We want to show to our Pacific Island the ministers and the community what we are doing to address the negative effects of climate change on our agriculture sector and also communities who are residing alongside coastal area and riverbank, and how we are trying to protect them and protect our infrastructure that is being affected by climate change. We are also moving slowly and putting ahead with respect to food and nutritional security, particularly nutritional security. We want to show what we have done with that. We want to include farmers in the discourse, in the week-long discourse. We want to include students, agriculture students and agriculture science students in the high school and primary school who are doing gardening in primary schools. Bring them to the fore because you're talking about future. discussing for them future Fiji. So they will be there. So we're looking at quite a bit of creativity in the next meeting that we will have in Fiji in 2021. We're quite excited about them. We want to begin this course and also fast-tracking some of the projects that we are undertaking so that we are able to showcase and demonstrate to our Pacific Island neighbors and leaders of agriculture, heads of agriculture and ministers what we have done, where we are lagging, what the obstacles we are facing, how they can learn from us, how we can learn from them. And of course, we will also have our development partners there, how they can come in and assist us. So one of the unique features of that particular agriculture meeting is we would want to tease out individual countries' agriculture agenda, forestry agenda, and see where they find obstacles or what are the factors that are slowing them down, and then we'll flesh it out to the development partners and donors and regional organizations who could assist them and us. I want to thank FAO, I want to thank SPC closer to us, a regional body, have a better understanding of us, FAO leveraging us in the international global scene. So they've been here, they've been supporting us for a long period of time, and I think we have gained a lot, benefited a lot from FAO and SPC's existence here. And we might want to see how differently they can do things with the same resources that they have and deliver more. So I'm very excited about it. Thank you.
That this session, that on a national level, we took it, what's in the community, we applied it on a national level in Vanuatu, but for the region it was not mentioned at all in the meeting this week. But I see some side events that's been working on to address women in agriculture and also youth in agriculture, but in the meeting today is not discussed.
We did spend a bit of time talking a little bit about the importance of women farmers and the role of women and economic empowerment of women and their role in increasing outputs through farming. The role of youth is very important though, and I think it's a very important discussion, and as the Minister said, we didn't actually get to discussing the role of youth. But it's important in the sense that young people potentially are our new emerging farmers, and how we harness that youthful energy and that youthful population is very much, I think, something our governments need to think about. They're challenged with that because so many of our young people often leave school without too much education, and how we entice them into the agricultural sector and into farming, I think, is something many of our countries are contemplating at this point.
My name is Kundavi Kadreshan. I am the FAO's Assistant Director General. I cover Asia and Pacific. I am based in Bangkok. I think there was a question about what was the major outcome of this meeting, the Pacific Week of Agriculture, when the ministers met. The important thing was there was consensus among the ministers of agriculture that we develop and promote nutrition-sensitive food systems. That's a major outcome of this meeting. And what does that really mean? When we talk about nutrition security, we need to ensure that people's diets are diversified. And that means we are able to have access and available nutrition-sensitive food. And one aspect of it we are talking about is going back to local crops, local foods, things that we are used to eating in the previous generation and when we were young. Now we are eating much more of processed food, highly fatty, with high salt and carbohydrates. So how do you make nutritious food? So that will be the focus, making it nutrition-sensitive food systems. How is it going to help farmers? Farmers will now, if there is more demand for nutritious crops, then farmers will be growing more of it and not only getting better income, but also people are able to get accessible and available nutrition-sensitive food as well. We also talked about climate change and its impact on agriculture. And therefore, one aspect of it is looking at climate-smart agriculture. And the more farmers have able to adapt to climate impact, whether it is coming about of droughts, cyclones, all those weather-related, climate-related issues, farmers are able to adapt their agriculture in terms of the time where they plant their crops, when they are harvesting their crops, and what type of seeds they are using. So there is a lot of adaptation knowledge that will be disseminated as part of the climate agenda. So those are the big items that we were talking about and agreeing on in this event today.